of when you were released. And in that video, you can see your emotion. You can see your relief from that day. What was that like when you were in detention?
First of all, we were overcrowded. So if you want to sleep, like for example, I slept on the floor for 3 months, surrounded with cockroaches, bugs, and all of that. For food, it's literally inedible.
Can you talk about the healthcare there and the impact on you now from detention?
So healthcare is over there, it's almost zero. The fever that I had, that was very, very bad, to the point that I literally felt like I'm gonna die this night. I was reciting my prayers. I was asking God for forgiveness, which after a few days, I suffered my first seizure ever. Doctors said that because of lack of proper nutrition, lack of sleep, and constant stress. Now I'm diagnosed with epilepsy after suffering my second seizure on April 30th. I cannot drive, I cannot swim alone, I cannot hike alone. So many things that used to make me feel free, now I can't do it. Now I have to stay on a specific diet, taking heavy anti-seizure medication every day. Government ICE literally messed up my health.
You mentioned prayer. You clearly left detention changed by it. What was it like trying to practice your faith in detention?
My religious rights were often violated. My simple, basic religious rights as eating halal foods, for example. Like having a clean, quiet place to pray in, to perform prayers. They were all violated. I didn't find the Holy Quran. I didn't find anything. They didn't have hijabs for girls who want to perform prayer, but they're not wearing hijabs. I kept asking about hijab actually for 50 days.
Your detention and release, in some part, have made headlines because you've been a vocal protester. DHS gave us this statement about you, and they did mention that they said you're detained because your visa ran out. But they went on, and they wrote, previously, in April of 2024, Cardia was arrested by local law enforcement for her involvement in pro-Hamas protests at Columbia University in New York City. She was also found to be providing financial support to individuals living in nations hostile to the U.S. The facts of this case have not changed. Laka Cordia is in the country illegally. Now, no charges were filed against you for the protest or the financial support. I want to ask your attorney, Sarah, how do you respond to this DHS statement, including the notion that she was supporting Hamas?
The government has had more than a year to provide any kind of evidence that would back up this kind of false and frankly dangerous allegation, and they have failed to do so. Laka has been providing in the past money to her beloved family members. Many immigrants send remittances to their family members abroad, just like Laka did. Laka was punished not because she overstayed a visa. Laka was punished by the government because she spoke out in support of Palestine.
Sarah, can I ask, what's your evidence that she was targeted because she's Palestinian?
Because that's what the government has said. They've made these false allegations, false and unsubstantiated allegations that she is, quote, pro-Hamas. There is absolutely no evidence. They have completely abandoned those arguments in court. They like them for press releases because they garner a lot of attention. But in court, the government has offered absolutely no evidence to support that assertion.
Laka, you are out right now on a $100,000 bond. That is a very high amount to be asked for. What is your response to DHS and the way that they say you deserve to be deported?
I mean, to be imprisoned for a whole year simply for practicing my freedom of speech, and to be accused of horrific things that I have nothing to do with, it's outrageous.
You still were here in an undocumented status, and there are many Americans who would say you should have left, and if you wanted a green card, applied for it overseas. Why should you be allowed to stay?
Simply because if I went back, there is a high possibility of like jailing me, even killing me back in Palestine, or what's so-called Israel, where they want to deport me, actually. There is a high risk on my life. I'm really terrified of the idea.
Because you're a protester here, or why?
Because I'm a protester, because I'm outspoken, and because I'm Palestinian.
And Sarah?
So, in fact, the immigration judge held that it is more likely than not that the Israeli government will persecute Laka if she is removed to Israel, which is where the government wishes to remove her.
One last question for me. Laka, you grew very close with many of your fellow detainees, some of them still in detention. What do you want to say to them?
Stay strong, stay hopeful. We didn't forget about you. Keep fighting. Keep dreaming. You didn't do anything wrong. All what you did is just dreaming. And dreaming shouldn't be a crime.
Laka Cordia and Sarah Sherman Stokes, thank you both so
Beautiful.
much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Liz.
for having me.
I agree. Dreaming should not be a crime, no.
Now, new understanding of a health condition affecting millions of women. An estimated 1 in 10 women worldwide live with a hormonal disorder long known as PCOS, that's polycystic ovary syndrome. But the condition is getting a new name. And as Stephanie Tsai reports, the change is about far more than terminology. Supporters say it could lead to better diagnosis, treatment, and care.
That's right. PMOS is the new name for the hormonal condition associated with a wide range of symptoms, from irregular periods to excess hair growth and acne, pelvic pain, and even anxiety and depression. The change was announced in The Lancet by an international collaboration of physicians, specialists, and women living with the disorder. Researchers say this new name is more accurate, and it's hoped it will lead to better diagnoses and medical care. Dr. Melanie Cree is a professor of medicine at the University of Colorado Anschutz and a doctor at Children's Hospital Colorado.
Oh, Anschutz.
Who was a
Yeah,
key lead
Children's
in the
Hospital.
name change, and she joins
I love
me
those
now.
places.
Dr. Cree, thank you so much for joining the News Hour.
Go
You know, it's interesting,
Denver!
The new name doesn't even mention the word cis. Does this change reflect a new understanding of the disorder, or was polycystic ovarian syndrome always a misnomer?
The name was always a misnomer. There are young eggs that were mistakenly called cysts. There have never been cysts part of the condition.
Women with PCOS, as you know, have often faced a labyrinth of providers before they even get a proper diagnosis. How does changing the name account for the fact that this is a disorder that can affect multiple body systems, the endocrine system, the metabolic system? How does that lead to better care?
What we're hoping is that it shouldn't matter what kind of doctor a patient presents to. So if they present to an endocrinologist who lives in the polyendocrine metabolic world, they'll think about the ovaries. If they present to a gynecologist who normally sits in the ovary world, the gynecologist will think about the metabolic consequences. And a primary care doctor will hopefully think about it all, and the name will help remind them of all of the pieces of this disorder. The diagnostic criteria have not changed. What we're hoping changes is that whoever is taking care of these women, that they look at their entire body and the entire condition, not just the ovary.
Right, because PCOS has often been linked to having babies. And advocates have complained, I understand, that ignores a lot of women who are suffering with symptoms but may not be trying to get pregnant. How has that focus on women's reproductive capacity affected patients over the years?
Patients haven't been given accurate information about associated conditions, so type 2 diabetes, or extra fat in the liver, high cholesterol, and they've been made to think that any weight gain or difficulties losing weight are their fault. And they're absolutely not. It is tied to the hormones and the insulin hormone in PMOS that is causing all these problems. And so in some cases, if women are tested for type 2 diabetes, obstructive sleep apnea, or extra fat in the liver, they could get our weight loss medications for those conditions right now. They're FDA approved, and most of them are covered by insurance. So it can change care for millions of women right now.
There's another thing with PCOS that I think it's worth putting awareness on, which is that women with PCOS are often at greater risk for heart disease, of course, the leading cause of death for women in the U.S. Can you briefly explain why that is and how this change might actually better address those types of concerns?
Absolutely. So what happens with insulin, and insulin is released to help us store the sugar that we eat, and it also helps store fat. And high insulin levels in somebody with testosterone makes you store fat inside your blood vessels. One of the research studies that we did over a decade ago showed that 15-year-old girls with PMOS have thicker plaque in their neck arteries than girls who have regular periods. At the age of 15 years, we can measure this.
I also want to go back to this issue of body fat, because women with PCOS are often told by their providers they simply need to lose weight. That is obviously a fraught thing to say to a lot of American women. And I know plenty of women who have had PCOS with a lean body type. So can you clarify what can and can't a woman do in lifestyle change, diet and exercise, etc., and how should she take that type of advice?
So the primary point for lifestyle change is to lower the levels of insulin. And insulin, as I said, is released when we eat, in particular, sugary foods. Insulin works better when we do activity. And so that's where those recommendations come from. And everybody with PMOS, regardless of body size, has insulin resistance. And again, our research has shown this from the University of Colorado. And so everybody needs to make those
See
changes.
you for the win.
The other things that are part of lifestyle that I think are real difficulties for women are if you're very stressed out and depressed, your stress hormone cortisol is a little higher. Well, cortisol makes you crave sugary, fatty foods and too tired to exercise. So if we're really trying to make food and exercise changes, but we're not doing anything to manage our day-to-day stress, we're working against our body. The same with sleep. If we go to bed after midnight, get less than 7 hours of sleep, or have obstructive sleep apnea, all of those increase your overnight cortisol. And so your 24-hour cortisol is just slightly higher, but enough so that you try to make lifestyle changes and you can't. And I think that's what's really important for people to realize, is it's all aspects of lifestyle, not just food and activity.
That is Dr. Melanie Creed joining us. Thank you.
Bye.
Moving to Stargate. Warp drive at Stargate. Warp drive active.
Well, we are just weeks away from the first Men's World Cup on U.S. soil in more than 30 years. There's great anticipation around it, plenty of complaints about high prices, and questions about how the U.S. team will fare with a home field advantage. The squad was finalized earlier this week with a 26-man roster for the first match on June 12th.
We care so much. Yeah, it means a lot to us. We want to do our best, represent this country best we can, and yeah, the nerves are there. You get the excitement, you feel those jitters, and now that we're here, hopefully we can just try to live in the moment and do the best we can.
For a preview of the men's prospects, we are joined now by veteran soccer writer Leander Charlakins. He's the author of the new book, The Long Game, U.S. Men's Soccer and Its Savage 4-Decade Journey to the Top, or thereabouts. He's also a columnist for The Guardian. Leander, I gotta say that the book subtitle is extraordinary. Thank you. Thanks for being with us. So let's start with the basics. Where this U.S. men's team stands right now, what are the realistic expectations?
I think if they make it to the quarterfinals of this World Cup, they'll have done very well. And that's not a thing Americans always necessarily like to hear, that making it to the last 8 means that you've succeeded. But you have to consider that there's 211 countries that have national soccer teams. Only 8 of them have ever won the World Cup, and the tournament's been expanded to 48 teams. So for the U.S. to get to the quarterfinals, they have to not only survive the group stage, but they have to make it through 2 knockout round games. And in all of their history at the World Cup, they've only won 1 of those. So that would make it a successful tournament, I think. But to add on to that, what's also important here is that the country cares and that they move the sport forward in a significant way, the way the 1994 World Cup did. And so that means not only doing well on the field, but kind of catching the country in a soccer fever and to really bring them along and to really get them to invest in this sport and really help it break into the mainstream long term.
Well, who are the players that casual fans should keep an eye on and why?
So you had Christian Pulisic there in the little clip. He's the star of the team. He's really interesting because for decades, American soccer on the men's side has been waiting for this sort of breakthrough player who can really help push into the mainstream and become an American star. And now a player comes along who can potentially do that in Pulisic, except he has no interest in fame whatsoever. He's not into doing press, into doing media. It's very painful to him. He's an introvert. And so that's kind of ironic in a sense. Another player who I think American fans are going to learn a lot about is Weston McKennie. Like Pulisic, he plays at a major club in Italy. He's this really cheery, goofy army brat who's incapable of being serious until the games start. He can play anywhere on the field, has played just about anywhere but goalkeeper for Juventus in this past season. He's going to be a big weapon for them. There's just interesting characters up and down this field. There's players who grew up in the Netherlands and in Germany and in England to American fathers who offer really interesting accents to the locker room. There's guys from the borderlands like Ricardo Pepi, who, when he was a teenager, had to make an agonizing decision of whether he was going to play for Mexico or play for the U.S. Two of the U.S. goalkeepers are really interesting. Matt Turner, when he tried to get into college soccer, couldn't get any team to look at him. He sent out hundreds of tapes and emails to college programs until Fairfield University finally took a chance on him. And then he made it to the Premier League, and he was the starting U.S. goalkeeper at the last World Cup. The other goalkeeper, Matt Fries, is the son of a famous neurosurgeon who pioneered gene therapy. And even though Matt has a degree from Harvard, he's sort of an underachiever in his family because they're all scientists and they have PhDs and they work in tech and finance. And here he is slumming it in professional soccer.
Slumming it. Well, tell me about the coach, Mauricio Pochettino. He's known for his unconventional methods, his intense style. What should folks know about him?
So Pochettino is a world-class soccer manager and the kind of manager that the U.S. has really never had before, and they were only able to get because they had a World Cup on home soil. He's from Argentina. He's coached some of the biggest clubs in European soccer. He's an interesting character. He's very affable. He's very pleasant. He also believes that keeping a tray of lemons in his office will absorb negativity. He believes that he can read the auras of the players and use it to kind of channel their performance and figure out who's going to play well. So he's a really compelling character as well, but he's got them believing, and he offered the team this hard reset that they needed 18 months ago and got them back on track, and it's looking promising under him.
Let's talk about the criticism around this tournament. The high ticket prices, the expensive lodging and transportation, concerns about attendance in some cities. What happened? How did this event that was meant to build excitement for the sport all of a sudden become inaccessible to so many fans?
Well, the thing you have to appreciate is that FIFA came to North America because it understood that this is where it was going to make the most money. And it has done everything it can to just suck up every bit of cash that it possibly could. So whereas previous World Cups would be run basically by the domestic soccer federation, this time around, FIFA set up headquarters in Miami. They rented some space in Trump Tower, although what I hear is nobody's ever there, and it was really done more for political reasons. And they just made sure that they managed every bit of the cash flow of this tournament. And so, ticket revenue they keep, broadcast revenue they keep, sponsorship revenue they keep, even concessions and parking they get to keep. And basically, they left the local markets that are putting on these games, 16 in all of North America, 11 of them in the United States, to deal with the expensive stuff, transportation and security and putting on the fan fests, all of which are really hard to monetize. So what's happened is that these markets have had to find other ways of paying for this stuff rather than have to put the cost on the taxpayer. And that's why you're seeing these stories of $150 train tickets and inaccessible games in all these different ways. And that's on top of the ticket prices, which are extraordinary because FIFA has basically argued, look, we're bringing 104 Super Bowls to your country and we're going to price them accordingly.
Leander Sharlakins, really enjoyed speaking with you. His new book is The Long Game, with the subtitle U.S. Men's Soccer and Its Savage 4-Decade Journey to the Top, or Thereabouts. Leander, thanks again.
Thank you.
And that's the News Hour for tonight. I'm Jeff Bennett. For all of us here at the PBS News Hour, thanks for spending part of your evening with us.
Major funding for the PBS News Hour has been provided by...
Doing so good. Yeah. Oh, this crashed, did it?
Carnegie Corporation of New York, working to reduce political polarization through philanthropic support for education, democracy, and peace. More information at carnegie.org. And with the ongoing support of these individuals and institutions. And friends of the News Hour, including Leonard and Norma Chlorfine, and the Judy and Peter Bloom Kovler Foundation. And with the ongoing support of these institutions. And friends of the News Hour. This program was made possible by the contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome, puny humans. I am Super Mutant Jump. Jump here to present to you review of hit new show, Fallout TV show Season 2. Look good, yes? Now I know what you're thinking. Why no co-host? Well, Jump tried. Jump gather many humans to help, but all too squishy. NCR. Legion. All mangled by Jump's powerful hands. I didn't mean no harm, George. Jump even tried making Super Mutant Host using FEV virus. But... fortunately, Jump have Vault Dweller that survived capture. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. No, it's simple. Human review show, Jump eat human. Fair deal, Jump thinks. And if I refuse, Jump will eat half of human now, and then other half will review show. Let's make a movie! Fallout as a series is about trying to survive after a disastrous event. Now you may think I mean an atomic disaster, but let me tell you, I have nailed this. Okay. That's better. Fallout 1 and 2 were released in these years by Black Isle Studios to mass critical acclaim. But their parent company, Interplay, who owned Fallout as well as the publishing rights to Baldur's Gate...
Well, Borderlands 4 just died on GeForce Now. That's weird. Confirm. Stop. Oh, no, wait, no. No, don't stop. Oh, I'll try again.
Gate was somehow losing money, and so in 2003 they shut down Black Isle Studios due to lack of funds. The project they were working on at the time, Van Buren, which was either the next Fallout game or some kind of vehicle, was cancelled. Much like the world after a nuclear incident, Fallout was in trouble and needed saving. Yeah, I think this analogy is holding up. Fortunately, around this time, Todd Howard, the video game equivalent of fucking Moses, purchased the series, took all of the Fallout games on a big boat made of money, and sailed onto the horizon of let's reskin Oblivion into a Fallout game. He took one look at Fallout 1 with its cool vaults and great concept of a blue jumpsuited dweller leaving to take on the wasteland, and Fallout 2 with its ugly characters and way too much text, and knew exactly what to do. Vault Dweller, bad. Leaves Vault, bad. Breathtaking wasteland, bad. More money than anyone could ever spend. See, Todd has always wanted to make a post-apocalyptic game, and as he put it himself...
I can remember it vividly. Just a sticky note on my desk when I came back said, "Got you, Fallout, it's yours."
No need to thank me, Todd. I've always had your back. You see, Fallout 3 was wet with atmosphere. And the exploration felt new and exciting. Sure, the game had the draw distance of a depressed painter. I was going to put a happy little mountain back there, but... What's the point? But this draw distance meant we never knew what was over the horizon until we got there. It actually added real suspense. What is in this water?
Jump only use the best. Jump only use Raja.
The writing of Fallout 3, however, didn't really meet the standards set by the series so far, and so not all fans were happy. Todd and Bethesda then did the unthinkable. They contracted Obsidian, a studio that contained staff that made the original games, to take the Fallout 3 engine and try and make a new game that's just that bit better. But as we all know, in less than 2 years, Obsidian instead offered up the very best game ever made. It's a bit like being asked to invent a new flavor of mystery meat and instead inventing a whole new universe. I don't like that, we need to cut it. The characters Obsidian created are, to this day, some of the best in video game history. All the RPG elements were brought back where your skills, perks, and choices really mattered. And they even tightened up Fallout 3's combat. But I mean, did it really need it?
Oh my god!
This game came out after Halo 3, and so this was it. With these two genius moves, Bethesda had created the ultimate franchise. They were riding high, and nothing could stop them.
People of the world, do not interfere. Our intentions are peaceful. We are Fallout 76.
Raven never flitting, still is sitting on the pallet buster palace just above my chamber door.
One more poem, human, and jump eat your kidneys.
Wait, what? I knew my fucking sniper. The story of Fallout 76 has been told as many times as there are versions of Skyrim, but here's the gist. After the release of Fallout 4, fans were a little shaken. With it, the series started to resemble more a corridor-based shooter, with a railroaded story and very little to discover from exploring. Both of Bethesda's main columns of power were showing signs of aging. Now more than ever, Bethesda needed something to reinvigorate the series, to pull a Fallout 5 New Vegas 2. Skyrim 6. But instead of making a single-player RPG like everyone wanted, they released Fallout 76, which as we all know was one of the worst-received AAA games of all time. And this was unusual because games with huge studios behind them rarely get scores this bad. And I think it's because no one wants to piss off the giant evil conglomerates. Do you think the subterranean mole people at Impulse Game really want to get into Bethesda's bad books? Take Starfield, the glorified $70 loading screen simulator. Has an 83 on Metacritic. This is insane. It's basically the same score as Fallout New Vegas. I guess no bonus for Bethesda. To make things worse, Todd promised everyone it would be the best thing since sliced babies. So everyone saw how bad it was. Everyone knew he was lying, and everyone was talking about it. So once again, Fallout was in trouble. Its reputation was shot to pieces, and now it was Todd who needed someone to come in and save the day.
People of the world, do not interfere. We are Amazon. Ah, jump understand. Amazon destroy planet. Amazon save Fallout. Good job, Amazon.
A fair exchange if there ever was one. After season 1 of the Fallout TV show came out, a lot happened to this quaint little gaming series. Almost 5 million people played Fallout games in a single day. Fallout 4's concurrent player count doubled. Fallout 76 reached a new peak of players it had never hit before, and Bethesda made enough money to literally bathe in it. Though somehow not enough to stop them from massively laying off their workforce.
Whoa, now times are tough. I mean, have you seen these numbers?
But how was the show? Well, from a video game adaptation, I don't think we could expect more than what we got from season 1. Sure, the production felt a bit iffy at times, and the story was tonally a little bit all over the place, but it had memorable characters that actually changed as the season went on. Amazing set and prop design, and most importantly, it felt really fresh. It wasn't like a lot of shows nowadays, which just seem like an unending slog of slow episodes where nothing happens so that they can artificially extend the plot on for dozens of seasons while still making as much money as physically possible. Every episode, I think, whether you liked it or not, had fresh ideas set at a really good pace. So in season 2, I wondered if it would be able to stay new and original. And after the first 3 episodes, it seemed to me that the show had become an unending slog of slow episodes where nothing happens so that they can artificially extend the plot on for dozens of seasons. Yes, with episode 2, this show's IMBD score dropped to its lowest point yet, lower than a super mutant's IQ.
Wait, you telling Jump this clean burn and fast ignition?
I better say here that episodes 4 to 8 more than made up for this season's slow start. But let's begin with why I thought episodes 1 to 3 were pretty average episodes.
Hold it 1 second, puny humans. I am Bootleg Mutant, not Jump. Not Jump thought it was best makeup was not wasted. And before Not Jump moved forward with video, he quickly wants to thank video's partner, CyberGhost VPN, for sponsoring the show. With over 38 million users worldwide and over 20,000 happy humans on Trustpilot, it's one of the best VPNs out there. In Wasteland, privacy very important. Raider spies everywhere. Tiny weak humans think incognito mode will save them. What puny humans do online can be seen by their internet service provider, school or work's IT department, or even home Wi-Fi router. Not Jump does not understand these puny terms, but CyberGhost does and can help. There we go. Not Jump worried pale hands look strange. CyberGhost VPN hide your online activity by encrypting traffic and routing through secure servers in over 100 locations. This also useful for unlocking geo-restricted games and shows from over 40 streaming platforms like Netflix, Disney, and Amazon. Even Bootleg Mutant is impressed. CyberGhost work on Windows, Mac, iPhone, Android, and even lets you protect up to 7 devices at same time. Using link in the description, puny humans can get best deal. Just $2.03 a month, plus 4 months free. That is 84% off. Also come with 45-day money-back guarantee. Very generous, Not Jump think. So use link in description to protect privacy and support Not Jump's channel. Now back to regularly scheduled show.
Fallout Season 1, at its sloppy grey matter, is a show about characters being changed by the world that they're in. I forgot to film the follow-up shot for this bit. And this, from a video game adaptation, is pretty impressive. I honestly think people who hate this show because, oh, did you notice this date is wrong? And who make videos about, oh, this date is still a problem, maybe need to have a good hard look at themselves in a fucking mirror. As an aside, Rafi Silva, who plays House's double, actually watched hours of Fallout YouTubers just before filming Season 2, so he could fully understand the perspective of people like Oxhorn when it comes to Fallout. No wonder these episodes are so bad. Oxhorn's videos, especially his playthroughs of the early Fallout games, are brilliant. This is fake beef. To summarize, Series 1 ends with us learning that Vault-Tec are actually planning the end of the world. The Brotherhood has a source of limitless power in the form of cold fusion. Lucy learns that her dad blew up Shady Sands to stop the MCR, and Lucy and the Ghoul leave into the sunset to search for Hank, who has gone to New Vegas. In the first 3 episodes of Season 2, Lucy and the Ghoul are out in the wasteland looking for Lucy's dad. But what actually happens in these 3 episodes? They fight some raiders, learn about House's mind control chips, which is nothing new as we see them in the first scene in the show, fight some red scorpions, Lucy gets captured by the Legion, and the Ghoul frees her. This is everything. And while this is a lot of stuff, I have issues with most of it, particularly with the Legion. Now don't get me wrong.
This is spoilers for me, so I'm gonna skip it.
Sony's midlife crisis has been wild.
But I don't like Fallout. I tried. I did like 5 episodes and I was like, this is fun for one sit through. But then I try to go back to it and like watch it again being like, oh, I like this. I'm a Fallout guy. But no, the show doesn't speak to me, unfortunately. It has some amazing cinematography and some cool fantasy in it, and I liked it a lot. But to watch it again, and also there was a lot of milk-coated sim stuff with the Brotherhood and
to watch. They have burned incredible amounts of money, wasted disgusting amounts of time, and they have garnered enough embarrassment to last them decades. In fact, I googled embarrassment just to make sure I was spelling it right because there's, R's and S's. And it popped up this article, which I thought was pretty weird. Sony almost 76'd a bunch of their most beloved franchises. Like, we almost had The Last of Us 76, Horizon 76, which that one is still happening. We almost had a God of War 76. Hell, even Spider-Man almost got the treatment. Which brings me to Bungie. Because Sony spent $3.6 billion on these guys. And it was mainly for their live service expertise. They also acquired Firewalk for the same reason. Because it apparently had lots of Bungie employees. And they had big live service plans. 12 games by 2026. Which eventually got cut to 6 because, quality. They canceled The Last of Us Online after they realized Naughty Dog would have to, continue developing a live service game. I know, an absolutely stunning revelation. This game somehow got greenlit and put into development before they realized that they would have to upkeep it. They closed London Studio, who was working on an unknown project, but it was some sort of fantasy London thing codenamed Camden. There's actually some leaked concept art from this game, but that's not a lot. And then we had Concord, August 23rd, 2024 to September 6th, 2024, a whole 14 days online, before ceasing all sales and issuing refunds to all purchasers. They then closed Firewalk Studios, who they bought for an undisclosed amount, and what we do know is that it cost them more than $200 million. One of the most catastrophic launches in entertainment ever. And remember, they bought Bungie for their live service expertise. Clearly they didn't use it much. Or maybe they did, because when it comes down to it, Bungie thought it was a good idea to launch a niche hardcore PvP extraction shooter while ending development on the franchise people actually enjoy. So maybe Concord does have something to do with Bungie's live service expertise. Real quick, I do want to get ahead of the everyone loves Destiny now meme. I don't think it's that everyone wants more Destiny 2.
No,
it's that people are mad there's no Destiny project in the works at all. No Destiny 3, no spin-off game. And how do we know that? Well, Bungie basically admitted it themselves. If they had something to say about the future of Destiny, I think they would have said it by now. Their silence is kind of the admission, but it's also been reported by industry insiders like Paul Tassi and Jason Schreier. Also, I do want to mention Jason's new YouTube arc in a bit, but first we have to talk about Asticross. Hope I'm saying that right. He is a huge Destiny creator, probably the biggest, and he has or maybe even had a relationship with Sony, which is important for this clip.
I know a lot of people that are not going to be playing Marathon Season 2. Or Season 3
No,
or what.
why would you play
I know
Marathon
a lot of
Season
people
1?
right now that from since last week's announcement have essentially completely walked away from Marathon. I don't want to play Marathon. I'll play it maybe seasonally. I may jump in.
I never wanted to in the first place.
I want Destiny. I want Destiny 3. I want this universe expanded. And Marathon, if I have to fucking bury you myself to send that message, I shall. I will do everything I can to destroy you, piss on your corpse, and light you on fire afterwards. To send even the smallest of messages to Bungie leadership and Sony. I know what I'm saying right now won't bode well for me in the future. Believe me, we have Sony partnerships, sponsorships, and I appreciate playing those games and having those relationships. And from this point on, well, probably not going to be good in that aspect. But I want Destiny. So this is a personal decision, probably not a good overall decision, but it's a personal decision, and I only got into this thing because of Destiny. So it's not that we're going to be coming after Marathon, but we are going to be showing all of our...
I can't understand straddling yourself to one fucking game like this. You all are a bunch of Narc losers. Remember Narc? He was the Ashes of Creation guy that went nuts when Ashes of Creation imploded. And he saw it coming for a year before. And he was like, oh no, I've invested in all my life and all my stream into this fucking grifter. And he tried to resurrect, but he couldn't. And he lied to all those Asmongold fanboys and all this. And that's what this guy reminds me of. He's riding one game into the fucking future. Like he needs it. And it's like, you couldn't marry me to one game. That's not happening. I'm not dedicating to one game enough where I'm trying to extort developers with my YouTube career. That's not fucking happening. In the next 5 days, I expect to see 5 more games on my channel. There's I have a whole Rust swipe to play with the large clan. Been playing Eve, you know. God, Once Human just had its new era of survival thingy, whatever that is, like whatever you call this. I don't even know. The new era of survival, whatever this is called. It's like a new era, but they're like doing. Like we watched this the other day, and like this guy comes in and he's like there and he's got a lantern head, yeah, and he's like everything's different, and he's very vague. But you know, but I trust in Once Human being a good game. I like Once Human, and so I've got that to play. Final Fantasy XI just went free on July 2nd. Fallout 76 is getting a new Infestation content, which I'm excited about. Like I play a lot of 76. You know, I love 76, and like there's all this stuff that's happening. Oh, what was that? Was that somebody shooting at me? No, I don't think it was. Where do I go? Oh, good. I was like, you took my yellow brick road away from me, and that's why I'm playing this game. Give me yellow brick road and good combat, and I'm good. I'm happy. Oh, was I at this and then I just didn't come back or whatever? You wouldn't show me? I don't know what's going on. Thank God they don't blast me with their terrible stuff. Damn it, I have to go to bed. I have to go to bed because I have to go to the veterinarian tomorrow. Maybe I'll stay up. I don't know. I shouldn't stay up though. I might stay up like a normal adult till like 1 a.m. Airstrike. I love the airstrike.
For Destiny, and in retaliation, or the effect will probably be negative for Marathon.
And this clip.
I plan on being peaceful, having a good day today. But to all the Marathon players out there that keep tweeting at me, saying things like cross from a moral standpoint, this is so wrong. I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, like my hold on, you try to hit me with this moral high ground bullshit.
What? It's a video game, you
should
idiots.
feel the shame.
What?
No, I should be feeling my
I just thought they were really funny and wanted to show them. But the point is, Destiny players are doing what they can to save it, and I think that's cool. You can see Destiny players have gone up since the announcement, with the most recent peak being 18,000, while if we look at Marathon, the graph is definitely much more sideways, with the most recent peak being 12,000. Now, of course, as I always mention, these are just Steam numbers. The console numbers are unknown, but it's likely a bigger increase than Steam, because Destiny was always a really big console game, and it just just shows people care about Destiny. The problem is that Bungie went rogue and made a Tarkov-like game because I'm pretty sure they just enjoy Tarkov. I don't really have anything to go off there, but that's definitely my suspicion as to why we got Marathon.
Jokers.
I think the developers got sucked into Tarkov, maybe played one too many custom raids, and tried to make their own in a more sci-fi Bungie way. Because let's think about this. What would be the better business decision? Now this is if you were to put yourself in the shoes of Bungie before they greenlit Marathon. Would you go with a franchise no one remembers because the last game was in 1996? Make it a hardcore PvPvE extraction shooter, which is a niche game mode with no real mass appeal? Or would you make Destiny 3? Or a Destiny spin-off? Or hell, if you really gotta make your extraction game, would you make it maybe in the Destiny universe? Now, I'm not saying a company should only work on established IP, but what I am saying is that they should probably always work on established IP. You should probably always have a project greenlit somewhere in your most established franchises, if I had to guess. Again, I don't make games, but Bungie employs about 850 people, and they have no one working on the future of Destiny? It seems crazy to me. But don't worry, it gets worse. We have this article where it says Bungie reportedly allowed Destiny 2 devs to keep working on Shattered Cycle and future content, even after leadership had already decided to end live service support earlier this year. Yeah, they've actually been spending money this entire time on an expansion that they aren't releasing. These guys are next level money burners. Now they're actually reporting on this article from Paul Tassi at Forbes, but the other guys had a better title. And I do want to go over what Paul Tassi had to say. He starts by saying the decision to end support for Destiny 2 and move at least some amount of resources over to Marathon was made earlier this year. A truly baffling decision. He says work continued on future Destiny 2 content, including future expansions like Shattered Cycle, and did not stop immediately when this decision was made. Which is just insane. I mean, they must have been afraid that it was going to leak that they stopped development, so they decided the better move was to just burn money on something they're not going to release. It is Sony or Bungie we're talking about here, so I mean, it makes sense, right? He says this was because the vast majority of Bungie did not know about Destiny Support 2 being dropped right up until it was publicly announced. I mean, I guess at least the developers got to have jobs up until probably pretty soon, I assume. So there's that. He says there were certain teams within Bungie that did know what was coming, some who were working on final Destiny content for the June update, some who had already been moved to Marathon. These people begged leadership to tell more people, and keeping so many people in the dark divided the studio. And these in-the-know teams felt extremely isolated. Sounds like an awesome working environment. It really sounds like Bungie knows how to run a studio. They are somehow worse than Bethesda. Paul goes on to say the exact scope and timing of layoffs remain mostly unknown. They are significant, but not immediately imminent. At a town hall after the announcement, multiple questions were asked about layoffs but were dodged by leadership. As previously reported, there are no other projects greenlit at Bungie right now, including a number of pitches that use the Destiny IP without being a full sequel. I imagine there are people that work at Bungie who are good at their job and are coming up with good ideas for leadership, but leadership just keeps hitting the same rubber nose stamp each time because they're seemingly too scared to spend any money, or just not allowed to spend any money by Sony. And I think that all has to do with how much of a failure Marathon is. Paul goes on to say Destiny 3 is neither in production nor greenlit. Sony has been very wary of committing to such an expensive undertaking in a market that is in flux and more challenging than ever. There is a reason you do not see many sprawling MMOs like Destiny make it to release these days. Right now, Sony is too risk adverse for something like that. Yeah, because I mean, they spent $200 million plus on Concord, and well, I mean, they shut it down in 14 days. I can understand why Sony would be risk adverse right now, but they've kind of dug this hole for themselves. Spending $3.6 billion on Bungie when they were working on fucking Marathon and not Destiny 3, you're crazy. It should have been abundantly clear that Bungie was gone. Paul goes on to say, Sony is supporting Marathon with more resources and what will now be at least some number of ex-Destiny workers in addition to the ones that have already been moved over. The game will get some time to try and find its legs, and there is no mandate to try and turn it into the new Destiny. New PvP and PvE modes are meant to expand the player base, and larger teams are meant to put out more content now. I mean, it seems like they're just going to try and put out new modes that are not the extraction mode and try and salvage what they have with the actual like gameplay and engine and everything. But first impressions are such a big deal. I feel like it would take quite the miracle to get Marathon back on its feet. Paul says there was always a lot riding on Marathon, but that's even more true now as Bungie's only active game. Destiny 2 ending and no new projects even greenlit means all Bungie's revenue is coming from that game. The fate of Bungie will come down to how much Sony wants to continue to invest in the studio, which it does still value at close to a $3 billion asset in terms of time or money, and how small they think it needs to be sustainable going forward. The main questions now are how many layoffs will there be, how big the team supporting Marathon will be going forward, how much time Marathon has to prove itself and what milestones must be hit, and will any other projects get greenlit at Bungie, what are they and what is their timeline. Now, I know that's a lot of information to take in, but as I was recording this, Paul released another article. And there are just a couple things I want to go over from this one too. First, he said one idea they had was scrapping the 2 expansion model and going back to one big expansion again, and renaming the game Destiny Infinity. The goal there was to kind of relaunch as opposed to doing a true Destiny 3 to kickstart momentum. Now, that's an interesting pitch. I mean, I feel like even that would have been better than what they went with. And with Destiny being such a successful game, why would you not? You already have the install base, why not just go for it? Anyway, he said Destiny 3 was considered as ever, but things didn't swing that way. My sources have no belief it is coming at the moment. As for Marathon, if the game made $1 billion, would Destiny 2 have a chance to continue? Sure, maybe. But no one was sitting there on launch day deciding if its performance would kill Destiny 2 or not. So it seems like no matter how Marathon did on launch, Destiny 2 was gonna end no matter what. Which, to be honest, if Marathon did super well and had tons of players, it would make a lot more sense that Destiny 2 was ending. It's the fact that Marathon doesn't have a lot of players that it makes no sense Destiny 2 is ending. He went on to say, unfortunately, neither the petition nor the planned login surge on the 9th has any chance of reversing the recent decision or greenlighting Destiny 3, as well-intentioned as they may be. And he's going off being an insider and knowing people at Bungie or Sony, and he's honestly probably right. I mean, online petitions are a pretty big meme. They don't really usually get much done. It can be a good sign of like there's a lot of people that care about this thing, but it could probably also just be botted, who knows. And while a login surge would be nice, I think Sony would really want to see consistent numbers in order to commit to especially something like a Destiny 3 at this point. I mean, even if they greenlit a Destiny 3 right now, it wouldn't release for another 5 or so years, when all of this is very much forgotten. Paul finishes by saying, from here, Bungie needs to land a pitched game and get something in the works. There's no info on exact metrics Marathon needs to hit to become a win. All eyes are on Season 2 and the free week, but the console audience has proven they really don't care for this thing, so the needle is not expected to be moved there. That's just a huge yikes. If Marathon's primary audience is on PC, and this is their player count, then Bungie might not be a studio for very long, and I don't really say that jokingly. Now, I do want to talk about the Jason Schreier YouTube arc, because it does kind of matter here. As I've already mentioned, Asticross kind of represents the emotional community side of things. Like, it's kind of expected that he's going to take a hard stance on this. But Jason represents the institutional and reporting side of things. The thing is, Destiny 2 ending development has hit both just as hard. Okay, maybe not just as hard, but you know, pretty hard. Like, Jason's video isn't breaking news, it's not overly produced, and it definitely doesn't seem like it was planned. He just talks about his time with Destiny and why he thinks it died. Now, for context, Jason made this YouTube channel in 2013. 13 years ago. This was his first video, and it got 140,000 views in about a day. It also gained him 16,000 subscribers. And I'm just making the point that for a long time, at any point in time, if Jason wanted to be a creator, he could have been a creator. But it was Destiny 2 that actually made him hit the record button and just dump out his thoughts. And it's because people love Destiny. Even as recently as June 2024, it had a 314,000 peak. Imagine how many players it had on console. Probably it was in the millions, I would imagine. And then afterwards, what we have is the Marathon dip, when they just very clearly didn't care anymore. And it's just so strange because you would think making the IP successful is the hard part. They spent over 10 years and they made Destiny a very successful IP, while maintaining a beloved IP would probably be the easy part. I mean, you have fans, lore, you have a brand, creators behind you, you have an install base and habits. People just get on and play the game because it's part of their dailies and stuff. But these companies really make this look like the harder part. Like Sony is making this look really hard. Do you know anyone truly excited for Horizon Hunters Gathering? I can't believe they're still going through with this one. I just think it's been so interesting to watch Sony fail at so many different turns this generation. It really makes me wonder if Xbox is going to turn anything around for the next generation and maybe make it competitive. I guess only time will tell. Something I want to mention before the end of the video is that I'm doing live streams, I guess, every week now. I did the first one last week and it went really well, so I figured might as well do it again. I'm going to play the new 007 game this time, and it should start Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern time. I'll see you there. But yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. If you want to buy a mug, the link's below. Thanks to all the doodles on the board that have signed up, and have a good day.
Welcome back to the Rebuttal Podcast, where we break down case law, comedy, and chaos in the legal field. Last week, we covered all of the true, excruciating details from the McDonald's hot coffee case, formerly known as the 1994 case of Liebeck versus McDonald's restaurants. This week, we take on Bigby versus Pacific Phone and Telegraph from 1983. In 1986, consumer groups brought several victims to testify before Congress in an attempt to clear the record regarding their cases. One was Charles Bigby, whose case was repeatedly distorted in public speeches by President Reagan, on national television by insurance industry executives, and on editorial pages of papers like the Wall Street Journal. Charles Bigby testified, quote, "I believe it would be very helpful if I could talk briefly about my case and show how it has been distorted not only by the president, but by the media as well. That is probably the best way to show that people who are injured due to the fault of others should be justly compensated for the damages they have to live with for the rest of their lives." These are the facts. Late on the night of November 2nd, 1974, Charles Bigby left his job at the LA City Hall, where the 33-year-old worked as a night shift custodian from 4 p.m. to midnight. Bigby was a native of Dayton, Ohio. At the time of the accident, Bigby had been in Los Angeles for about 10 years. When he first came to town, Bigby wound up living in Inglewood on the advice of a cab driver. He got into his car and drove to his neighborhood convenience store, Fortune Liquor, at 2208 Century Boulevard. At the time, Bigby lived at 3306 West 108th Street, about a mile away. He had lived no further than 5 miles from Fortune Liquor in the prior 10 years. At Fortune, he bought a newspaper and a loaf of bread. Approximately 20 minutes after midnight, 33-year-old Bigby, having finished his shopping, left the store and stopped at the telephone booth just outside to make a telephone call to his girlfriend, Sheila Croxton. This was Charles's custom. He hoped to be invited over. Sheila lived nearby. If Sheila was not awake or not amenable, Bigby would go home instead. I'm choosing to believe this is romantic. If they were just a hookup, then fine, but I'm choosing to believe what I want to believe. Even at midnight, there were several people in the store and in the parking lot. Outside Fortune, there were 2 telephone booths. He chose the one not occupied. This booth was located near the wall of the store on the sidewalk about 15 feet from Century Boulevard. Sheila was awake. As the two spoke, Bigby saw a car, which the police later determined to be a 1972 Ford driven by Leola North Roberts. The car was weaving through 3 eastbound lanes. It careened off the street and jumped the curb toward Bigby. After he saw the car coming, driven by an alleged drunk driver, he tried to flee, but because of the jam, he could not. While trying to open the door to escape, Bigby said the door, which folded inward, jammed. Trapped inside, he threw his coat over his head. I'm gonna cry. This is giving me such anxiety. Oh my goodness. He threw his coat over his head. When the car struck the booth, the glass shattered around him and cut into his body. The defendants later disputed that Bigby ever had the time to escape or that he even tried to open the door. Yet it is undisputed that others who were in harm's way succeeded in avoiding the car's path. For example, Michael Zealous was waiting to use Bigby's telephone booth. Upon seeing the car approaching, he fled from its path. Zealous was unhurt. A man in the other telephone booth further from the street also escaped the car's path, as did several other people in the parking lot. Bigby did not, and he recalled later that he immediately knew from seeing his torn body that he would lose his right leg. In fact, Bigby's leg was severed from his body. This is impacting me a lot because life can change in really a millisecond. Duh, everyone knows that, but it never gets old hearing stories or firsthand accounts of people experiencing that. And I hope it never does. For me, for you, for anyone. I know certain professions it does, even being a lawyer, right? Like certain things, your senses are dulled, but empathy doesn't need to be something that we lose as we gain experience. In pain, he recited the Lord's Prayer over and over until someone ultimately freed him from the phone booth. By the time the ambulance came, Bigby was unconscious. He was taken to the hospital. It was about 1 a.m. Doctors there amputated the rest of his right leg about 4 inches above the knee and managed to save his left leg, transferring skin grafts to cover gaping holes caused by glass shards. Bigby's girlfriend, Sheila, was frantic. The phone had never disconnected. While on the phone with Bigby, she had heard Bigby scream and then a long moan. Sheila's guess was that he had been shot. Crime was not rare in the neighborhood. Sheila got into her car and drove around the neighborhood until she spotted the police cars 3 miles away from her apartment. Inglewood police officer Ronnie Woods was the first officer at the scene. After caring for Bigby, Woods then dealt with the car driver, whom he testified later to be obviously intoxicated. Leola Roberts, a middle-aged woman, had been driving from the Hollywood Turf Club on the grounds of the Hollywood Park racetrack. The last race had been at 11:30 p.m. Unhurt in the accident, she was also taken to the same hospital for a blood alcohol test, but no test was taken. Roberts denied purchasing or drinking alcohol that night. Bigby's attorney later surmised that no test was taken because police officers knew that her son was an LAPD officer. Oh, I love the LAPD, as all of you know.
Right? I know.
Don't I love them so much?
I
They're just
love
like
the
my
LAPD.
favorites. Oh my God.
They're
In
just
her
the
wallet,
superstar.
next to her driver's license, was her son's card. I hate a lot of people in this already. The accident did not make the newspapers the next day. Bigby's accident did not become newsworthy until the California Supreme Court granted certification to hear Bigby's appeal more than 9 years later. Imagine having to be re-traumatized by this for 9 fucking years. As a city employee, Bigby had Blue Cross health insurance and he qualified for federal disability insurance of $272 a month. He also received a one-time payment from the city of $500 under a dismemberment policy. Despite this insurance, he was unable to cover the entirety of his medical costs. Indeed, his unpaid, unreimbursed medical bills amounted to more than $1,500, over 20% of his yearly janitor salary of $7,374.57. Woof. He was behind in his bills and cash-strapped, aggravated by the fact that he was physically unable to go to work and severely depressed. No shit. Collection agencies hounded him for bills requesting as little as $50 2 years overdue. The fact that this is still the reality for Americans today is just sickening. What kind of country do we live in, truly, where this can happen to people? And how depressed, severely depressed can you be, just the loss of your leg and traumatized from going through an accident like that? Already, with all of your bills paid and everything else accounted for, you are severely depressed and traumatized, and it's a horrendous recovery. America just says, hey, let's triple it. Let's take your pain, give it right back to you in reverse, triple, quadruple it. And we're going to have collections agencies call you often about it. To remind you. Each time Bigby went to the hospital for treatment, he feared that it would be his last opportunity. Because he was unable to work, he expected that his Blue Cross health insurance would expire in a matter of months, yet he needed ongoing medical care. When he first left the hospital, he had casts on his left leg and right stub. Later, he would need an artificial leg.
I can't seem to change the keybind that I'm used to having the grappling hook on, so I'm going to change it back, and this is a real struggle here. I hate this. So it's middle mouse is my grappling wheel. Or thingy. Echolocation, but I need melee grapple to be on my middle mouse. Remove the binding, and then action skill should be on mouse 5. There we go. That's a little better. I think that's a better system. Yeah, that's like the one I'm a little bit more used to. Something's shooting me. Yeah. Abandoned mine. hell was that? Ah. Do I have a point? Yes. Ooh, melee damage and maximum health because we're working our way down to get curse. Yep.
Warp drive active. Warp drive active. Warp drive active.
Endless Dream, New Phase, in the Endless Night, Nightmarish Whispers Linger. This is the new one's Human Phase. A faint will ignites, burning quietly in the dream's abyss. When the scenario reaches its final phase, a sign-up feature becomes available. After signing up, you can join a new scenario once the countdown ends. Sure, I'll sign up for a new scenario. I like the whole grind. I do. During the settlement phase of the scenario, you can use the permanent server pre-selection feature to choose which permanent server to merge into. Metas can join more scenarios through the scenario registration system. When selecting any scenario, the system will recommend a server by default. You may choose quick join to register for the recommended server. Alternatively, metas can select the choose another server button to manually pick a different server or pre-register for upcoming scenario servers. Okay, so what is standard? Now they have something called standard or hardcore. What is hardcore? Oh, it's Raid Zone. So now they've merged Raid Zone, and they don't flip modes anymore. They're just like, would you like to go to hardcore? Standard, strategic survival, risky gamble, death drops all of your items, but you may be able to recover some of them, build your defenses. That's Raid Zone, standard Raid Zone. So now they've merged the intro scene. There's casual, worry-free exploration, friendly duel, no loss, and safe haven. Endless Dream, Dynamic Cycle, High Difficulty, PvE. Oops.
chair and a knee brace for his left leg. Bigby's stump would blister, and the injury in his left leg, agitated by the strain of the prosthetic leg, would bother him for the rest of his life. According to his own attorney and those who took Bigby's deposition, Bigby was ill-educated and at times not very articulate, which again is also a crime in America. If you want justice for yourself or for people around you, if you are a victim or a perpetrator, oh, you're not articulate? Oh, you're not educated? Oh, you're low income? Strike against you, which is disgusting. But when they met, the attorney who would take Bigby's case recalled that Bigby had a good sense of humor, and he found him both tough and charming. I will cry. Bigby had always worked and had never been in any criminal or law-related trouble in his short 33 years of life, though that wouldn't have mattered regardless. Hi everyone, time for a quick break to thank Skims for sponsoring this episode. The Fits Everybody collection from Skims is my favorite invention in the underwear and shapewear space. When I want something that is breathable, buttery soft, durable, and molds to my skin like it was made for me, I am reaching for my Skims Fits Everybody Scoot bra, bodysuits, and thongs. The collection is made up of everything from the perfect cropped tee to comfy undies in a range of neutrals, nudes, and fun seasonal colors, and their sizing is very inclusive. They have something for everyone, no matter what size or style you prefer. I can and do wear them all day, whether it's a work day or the weekend. So shop the special Rebuttal Podcast link in the show notes below. Shop the Skims Fits Everybody collection at skims.com, and after you place your order, be sure to let them know Rebuttal Pod sent you. Select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Now, back to Rebuttal. In May of 1986, President Ronald Reagan had addressed the American Tort Reform Association, the ATRA, which had been founded earlier that year by his White House aide, former Republican Congressman James K. Coyne. The ATRA is a nonprofit organization, a coalition of businesses, municipalities, associations, professional firms, and others with the primary goal of, quote, civil justice reform. Now, please go back and listen to at least the beginning of last week's episode to get the full breakdown of why the phrase tort reform is an oxymoron and a barrel of BS and pushed very hard by insurance companies, large corporations, and their very powerful lobbyists to convince the American public, the American people, that we have a lawsuit problem in this country. And unfortunately, as with most evil things that occur and exist in this country, it all leads back to Reagan, somehow, some way. This is no exception. The theme of Reagan's speech to the packed hall in the American Chamber of Commerce was the urgent need for tort law reform. Reagan declared, quote, more recently, however, tort law began to go terribly wrong. Twisted and abused, tort law has become a pretext for outrageous legal outcomes that impede our economic life, not promote it. The remainder of Reagan's speech was a recounting of outrageous legal outcomes. The first, quote, loony outcome was his version of the California Supreme Court's decision in Bigby versus Pacific Telephone and Telegraph Company. This is what Reagan said, and I quote, in California, a man was using a public telephone booth to place a call. An alleged drunk driver careened down the street, lost control of her car, and crashed into the phone booth. Now,
it's got mostly
it's no surprise
negative.
that the injured man sued, but you might be startled to hear whom he sued, the telephone company and associated firms. That's right. According to Chief Justice Rose Bird of the California Supreme Court, a jury could find that the companies responsible for the design, location, installation, and maintenance of the telephone booth were liable. Laughs from the audience. I suppose all this might be amusing if such absurd results only took place occasionally, yet today they have become all but commonplace. End quote. Which is untrue. By the time Reagan spoke of the Bigby case, more than 14 years had passed since the crash into the telephone booth and 3 years since the California Supreme Court issued its decision. Reagan's version of Bigby was technically correct, but misleading nonetheless. For one, it is important to appreciate at the start that the injured man did not just walk away from the telephone booth like Reagan so kindly suggested. Bigby's leg was severed. Charles Bigby had suffered very serious injuries, not only the loss of his right leg, but also severe physical disability in his left. The accident left him unable to walk, severely depressed, and unable to work. Because the phone company had placed the booth near a known hazardous intersection, and because the door was defective, keeping him trapped inside, he sued the phone company for compensation. A witness at the scene corroborated Bigby's account, testifying that he saw Bigby frantically trying to open the booth's door as the vehicle approached. My God. Horrific. While investigating the case, Bigby's attorney discovered that 20 months prior to Bigby's accident, another car had hit the same phone booth at the same location, which was near a busy intersection with a history of vehicle collisions. The phone company decided to build another booth in the same exact spot with no guardrail or barrier, no warning signs, and with a door that did not work properly, despite indications that the booth was in a dangerous location. Hey, Reagan. Hey, knocking on your door in hell real quick. Why'd you leave that shit out? Just curious. And contrary to Reagan's implication, Bigby sued all those he felt contributed to his accident, including the more, quote, likely suspects, such as the alleged drunk driver of the vehicle, as well as Hollywood Turf Club at Hollywood Park, who he claimed had served alcohol to the driver that night. Furthermore, Bigby never claimed that all phone booths were dangerous. Rather, he claimed that because this particular booth was very close to a 6-lane thoroughfare and because its door was defective, he was unable to escape when he saw the car careening toward him. In addition, the California Supreme Court noted that the very same telephone booth had already been struck by a car approximately 20 months before Bigby's accident. To Reagan's credit, which we'll give him none, but we'll pretend to, he did not actually say that a jury had found the phone booth companies liable. Indeed, the Bigby decision simply reversed the lower court's grant of summary judgment for the defendants. Nevertheless, Reagan did not clarify that the decision only paved the way for a jury trial. Essentially. Like, literally, that was it. The California Supreme Court just said, hey, no, this case can still survive at the very least. Let's have a jury decide this. In which the decision might go either way, right? They could find for the defendant or the plaintiff. But, of course, that's not really great for his shtick up there, for his speech at the Tort Reform Association dinner, gala, whatever $1 million affair it was. So That's why he probably didn't specify that. It was more likely, however, that Reagan's aim with the Big B anecdote was not to place blame for absurd results or runaway juries or litigious plaintiffs, though that was literally the topic of the dinner that he was at, but instead it was to attack Chief Justice Rose Byrd. All political motivations surrounding this fucking telephone booth. After all, in setting out, quote, loony outcomes in other jurisdictions, Reagan did not refer to any other judges by name. Yet, he neglected to mention that the vote in Bigby had been a clear majority of 6-1 of the California Supreme Court. He had a vendetta against Chief Justice Rose Byrd, which we will get to. In the 1980s, tort reformers frequently cited Bigby, more commonly referred to as the phone booth case, to explain their cause. The news media, too, seemed fascinated by the case and often aired Reagan and other tort reformers' comments about the case. While the McDonald's, which we talked about last week, scalding coffee case is a common anecdotal case today to illustrate perceived problems with runaway juries and greedy attorneys, which we debunked entirely in our last episode, Bigby has been called its equivalent in the 1980s. It had a severely negative effect on the view of torts and justice in the civil justice system, was so disgustingly pro-corporation, pro-insurance companies, pro the man. It sickens me. The greed sickens me. And they always just use innocent people who actually really did deserve all the money they got as scapegoats, like Stella Liebeck and here, Charles Bigby, which is disgusting and sad, and that's why we're bringing light to it in this podcast now. But the Bigby case did not attain notoriety simply because the facts of the case resonated with the average American. Rather, Bigby achieved notoriety because Republican officials in the White House and Republican Party members in California appropriated Bigby for their political and ideological aims. Thomas P. Cacciatore was Bigby's attorney. Bigby's selection was a good choice at the time. Although Cacciatore was only 28, he had some trial experience on both sides of personal injury cases. Bigby found Cacciatore through an attorney who attended his church. Because this man was a criminal lawyer, he referred Bigby to Cacciatore, who was his partner at their law firm. Cacciatore drove to the scene of the accident soon after his first meeting with Bigby. According to Cacciatore, he could, quote, see the theory of liability once he got to the scene of the accident. And as he now recalls, quote, if you pay attention to the arguments, the ultimate outcome in favor of Bigby was obvious and correct. That so much controversy would develop over the case surprises him to this day. Cacciatore filed a complaint in Torrance Superior Court on behalf of Bigby on October 9th, 1975. His second amended complaint was filed on August 21st, 1978. In his first cause of action, Bigby alleged negligence against Leola Roberts, the driver of the car that struck the telephone booth. Bigby's third cause of action alleged negligence on the part of Hollywood Turf Club Incorporated, the owner of Hollywood Park, Western Harness Racing Incorporated, the coordinator of harness race events and the lessee, and Serve Incorporated, the food service and concession operator, on the grounds that these defendants had allegedly caused Roberts to become intoxicated. But that's the thing with these types of lawsuits. You include everyone who could possibly be liable. That's what you have to do. If they end up not being, or the theory of liability doesn't work with them, then they will be dismissed from the case. That's fine. But suing as many parties as you can, figure out who the true culprit is exactly what you're supposed to do. In this case, for sure. And even before Bigby reached the courts, Bigby's suit had a special place in California legal history. The accident occurred during a 7-year window, 1971 and 1978, as a result of a recent Vesely versus Sager decision, which I believe is a California Supreme Court decision. Yes, California vendors of alcohol could be held responsible in cases in which they served obviously intoxicated customers who subsequently inflicted injuries on a third party. However, in response to that decision, the California legislature immediately amended the statute on which that case was based on. So if the accident had occurred only a few years earlier or later, a cause of action against any of those vendors at Hollywood Park might have been futile. According to Bigby's causes of action against the Hollywood Racetrack, Hollywood Turf Club, Serve, and Western Harness Racing, those defendants contributed to Bigby's accident by serving or facilitating the service of alcohol to Leola Roberts. Just before witness depositions were taken, the parties settled for $25,000. In fact, Roberts herself paid half, and the remaining defendants paid the other half. As Cacciatore puts it today, this settlement provided Bigby what attorneys call, quote, traveling money. There were now enough resources available to pursue the defendants that would make Bigby a famous case. So basically, more money that he needed. Although the remaining defendants engaged separate counsel, these, quote, unlikely suspects were, in Cacciatore's words, a unified front. Pacific Telephone operated the telephone communication system in Los Angeles County. Western Electric designed and supplied telephone equipment such as phone booths to phone companies such as Pacific Telephone. In the 1970s, before deregulation and cell phones, Bigby and many others in his lower middle-class neighborhood in Inglewood depended heavily on payphones, particularly outdoor payphones that were always open. Indeed, it was not unusual that Fortune Liquor's 2 phone booths would be occupied at midnight on a Friday, while others like Michael Zellis waited their turn. Cacciatore recalls that Bigby never had a home telephone during the time he knew Bigby. Instead, Cacciatore kept almost 24 phone numbers for Bigby's neighbors and friends in his Rolodex. When the attorney needed to speak with his client, Cacciatore would often try 7 or 8 of those numbers in hopes of catching Bigby there, or to leave a message for Bigby to call him back. Cacciatore developed 3 main theories of liability, further informed by discovery. First, because of the defendant's negligent design of the telephone booth door, instead of opening smoothly, it had stuck when Bigby tried to escape. Secondly, the defendants had chosen a location near a busy 6-lane thoroughfare that was unreasonably dangerous for phone booth users. Finally,
this
the
site's going
defendants
to end in like 90 seconds, and I'm going to stop. I've got to get up at 7 in the morning, and it's 12 right now, so to go take care of my cat and get blood drawn, and then I will be on in the morning at like 10 or 11 or something like that for the rest of the day. I don't have anything else to do tomorrow, which is good. Yogurt. I have a little bit of yogurt here. And yeah, so it was fun to play with you guys, and I will be back tomorrow. I will close out here. We're just going to close Borderlands 4. Quick game. Got some progress in Borderlands 4. Got a quest done, which is good. And how's X4 going? Terran Defense Platform. So turn off Explore and go, and go run to that thing and explore that. Yes. Now I have been hurt, and it appears that Velvet Thunder did protect me. I've been hurt by something, but I don't know what. I don't have to repair, I guess. I guess ships can't be repaired, which is kind of interesting. Let's go ask the AI about that. In X4 Foundations, can you repair the ship that you're in if it gets damaged, or do you have to buy a new one? Okay, so I can currently... Oh, wow, where did we go? Oh, cool, we got a new one. Now we're exploring Jupiter. Okay, got credit here. Putting drones away. I'm going to warp us to a safe spot. I even dodged a stream snipe tonight, which is cool. I didn't want to say anything about it because it's like acknowledging them, but, you know, I actually outdid them, which is cool. So I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Gotta go to bed early tonight, unfortunately, or I would stay up until 4 or even 7. If all I have to do is go to the veterinarian office, I don't know, I'll be home by 9 or something. I could just stay up all night. I'm not really tired, but no, I should sleep and just go to bed because I want to walk in the morning, and because it'll be sunny around noon, and I want to walk when it's at least like somewhat nice outside. And okay, guys. Okay, excuse me. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go. You have been watching Skycatlive. I'm a full-time variety gamer all day, every day. Put me on in the background. Click on the cast face to donate. come to skycat.live and click on the cast space to donate. Come to the Twitch or the YouTube or my Kick. Give me a like, sub, or follow. Thank you so much, everybody who's been watching my stream and everything. And I love you guys. I see you on Kick and Twitch and all this and YouTube. I record every session that I do and I place it on my channel. Sometimes I get hits, sometimes I don't. But in any event, I'm going to be uploading this session in its entirety, which was... I don't know how long this session was. Says 5.5 hours, but I started at... oh no, I did start late today. So yeah, this was a kind of a short session, unfortunately. But you know, I can't get them all. It was kind of a long day and had to do other stuff. So tomorrow's kind of like that too. But no, I have most of the day to myself, which is good after the morning. So I'm gonna go get some rest and sleep. I love you guys. This recording will end. This recording will